My topic is about dissecting our desire to find an answer. I will separately talk about why we have such desire to find answers and why we should eliminate the insecurity when we can't have the answer. Firstly, I believe most of you are familiar with the concept of left and right hemisphere after this course. Left hemisphere is very good at handling focused tasks, where it associates with attributes such as logic, stability, and analytical thinking. Right hemisphere likes to engage with broader environment. It interacts with changing, interconnected, implicit, and living beings. I believe the nature of wanting to have an answer comes from the dominance of left hemisphere. Left hemisphere does not like ambiguity. When the left hemisphere stops working with the right hemisphere, the left hemisphere becomes a closed system which confines itself by the set of rules, one of which is certainty. Left hemisphere forbids the existence of uncertainty. Answer provides certainty to a situation. Thus, where there is a situation that an answer is not given, the left hemisphere will dislike it very much. There are three reasons why left hemisphere is remain in dominance. First, this system is self-consistent because it made it so. When there is deviance from the system, left hemisphere tends to simply cut it out and judge it as irrelevant. Second, right hemisphere lack of ability to argue through language put left hemisphere in dominance. Third, the system has an effect as psychiatrist Lane called mirror effect. The more you are trapped in the system, the less likely you will find a way out of the system. Thus, today I would like to propose a way out. When we talk about answers, it is rather intuitive to look at the field of science. In Science and Certainty, Dr. John North from University of Pittsburgh stated, "In common science practice, near certainty is accorded to the basic principle of nature science, and this certainty is said to be based on experimental evidence. Science is certainty because it provides us with certainty. However, this does not mean there are always certainties in the study of science. There are great differences between natural science and the study of science. We can take a look at the recent progress in science in the last 3 centuries to illustrate this difference. Laplace's determinism, which stated, we may regard the present state of the universe as the effect of its past and the cause of its future. This was the dominant philosophical understanding of science before the rise of quantum theory in early 20th century. Quantum redundancy stated that we could not always reach a precise prediction just from the cause. One of the examples is the uncertainty principle, which stated the uncertainty of the position times uncertainty of momentum is larger than Planck constant over 2 pi. This formula is the closest description of the position and momentum of a particle in quantum mechanics. We know that nature works in a certain way, but due to the limitation of our understanding, there is not always a precise understanding to describe it. As science progresses further and further, the limit of human understanding is no longer possible to always produce a precise answer, as we used to. This made many scientists very uncomfortable. For example, when I asked my high school teacher to explain quantum theory to me, he did not go through the scientific process of explaining it through scientific theory. However, he explained through God. He said God is the answer to this, and he explained that there are certain things that we can't explain in our life. Then that's why we turn to God. This is what I'm arguing against. Many scientists are too adapted to the mindset that study of science is certain, that when there is not an answer to a question, and they become anxious and extremely biased, they rush to an answer and connect the things that are irrelevant, such as religion and science. Science is a very evidence-based subject, whereas religion is a spiritual-based subject. This desire for answer extends to our everyday life. Imagine a scenario where there is a couple and they both know their relationship is about to end soon. After they return from work together, the woman took off her shoes and just left it near the door. The man urges her to put her shoes onto a shoe rack. She did not want to do it, and then they had a huge fight. The fight extended to what they felt during the relationship. Each of them tried their best to find and justify themselves during their action during the relationship, trying to convince each other whatever they did was for the best of the another. They both knew this argument would not save the relationship in any ways, nor does it give themselves any pleasure. They only need a justification for their action so that their action does not seem to be pointless to themselves. I believe all of us have similar experiences before. let it be arguments with family, friends, or lovers. We are always on this journey to justify and prove there is a meaning to our action or our existence. Our parents taught us to do so by saying, "Hey kid, you are born to do this. Believe in yourself." Our teachers taught us by saying, "You should all find a dream. You are meant to achieve something in your life." However, are these all true? Do we really have an inherent meaning in our birth? And are all our actions meaningful? I don't think so. In understanding my argument, I would like to bring my depressing yet extremely educated French guy Albert Camus and his absurdism. In his essay, Myth of Sisyphus, Camus considered absurdity as a confrontation, an opposition, a conflict, and a divorce between two ideals. Specifically, he defines human condition as absurd as the confrontation between mind's desire for significance, meaning the clarity on the one hand and the silent, cold universe on the other. He continues that there are specific human experiences evoking notions of absurdity, such as realization or encounter with the absurd leaves the individual with a choice: suicide, a leap of faith, or recognition. He concludes that the recognition is the only defensible option, and I will propose a similar conclusion to Albert Camus. From the dominance of left hemisphere, we always like to think that there are meanings in our life to feel special about ourselves. When there are evidence that lead to the conclusion that there might not be an inherent meaning of our lives, we simply ignore it. The insecurity of not having a definite purpose scares many people. Thus, many of them hold onto our so-called destiny and live their life passively. Living passively is not something we want. Thus, I propose that we should recognize that life is in its nature meaningless and create a meaning for ourselves. Also, let right hemisphere work with the left hemisphere more. We should be able to understand that some of the things we have done are purely emotional responses, and there should not be a logical explanation for it. Similarly, for scientists, not knowing an answer to a question does not prove incompetence and create anxiety for themselves, but it should entail curiosity. The ability to handle insecurity of not knowing may be one of the most important skills we need to learn.